was not prepared for how different the original comics would be. It's like Archie and Riverdale, but if Riverdale came first and inspired Archie.
What?
Fans of the comics are not gonna like this comparison, but they're also not gonna like anything I have to say about the comics. Stay tuned. Butt lovers, welcome back to the Lore series, where we look way too deep into media that does not call for it. I usually say media that no one else is brave enough to, but I feel like that only applies when I'm watching Team Umizoomi, Special Agent Oso, Word World. But as I'm sure you've noticed if you've been watching me, I've really been loving these spin-off shows. As always, my videos are not intended for kids, I say bad words, and I have no intention of censoring myself. The Big Hero 6 2014 Disney movie opens on San Francisco. I've never been to Tokyo or San Francisco, so if I go to one of these places and it's not exuding at least half of the vibes of San Francisco, I'm going to be joining the main character's parents in hell. Before we meet our main character, Hiro, who is technically not the titular bitchular because it's spelt a different way in the title, we see how ruthless robot fighting is. Yama, who for whatever reason reminds me of Kevin James, probably because he bullied my uncle in high school. True story, unless my uncle lied to me. Anyway, Yama, aka Kevin James, is top dog at robot fighting, and he's making money off doing so. When he asks the crowd if anyone is brave enough to face him, this dude decapitates his own robot. Fully unnecessary and very strange. Oh no! Kevin James is gonna take my homework!
Talk it over.
Oh, well, you see, I can't because,
Oh, what? What the
I
fuck?
ate it.
That's so much worse than what I would have done to you. What are you doing?
14-year-old Hiro pretends to be an average, naive boy. So when he stumbles into the bot fight with his equally unassuming robot, no one takes him seriously. The robot, through the power of magnets, ends up taking down Yama's robot. And Yama, being the mobster that he is, sends his henchmen to beat up the boy. Hiro's brother Tadashi rescues him, but because bot fight gambling is illegal, the cops arrest them both. Their gorgeous aunt, who is the victim of so many weird edits, bails them out and is also incredibly stressed because she feels like a failure of a caregiver. She's giving off Aunt May from Spider-Man vibes. They should team up for maximum slay. The mommy meter would be on another level. Speaking of mommy, Hiro's parents are dead. Aww. And they announced this in the least subtle way possible. Because even though the movie already made it abundantly clear, they have no faith in us.
They died when I was 3, remember?
Oh no, I actually forgot, so thank you for reminding me. Hiro wastes no time after being bailed out of jail to try to go to another illegal robot fight. Bruh. Tadashi convinces his little brother that he'll drive him, but instead he actually takes Hiro to the San Francisco Institute of Technology. Hiro meets all of Tadashi's friends and their amazing inventions. First we have Gogo with her magnetic, thin-wheeled motorcycle, and she's always trying to make it go faster. Then we have the incredibly obsessively tidy Wasabi and his lasers that can slice an apple thinner than paper strips. Next is Honey Lemon, and she's a ray of sunshine, so bubbly. I remember in the comments of my Crack Ships video, which is unfortunately semi-restricted, somebody said that they shipped Honey Lemon with Luisa from Encanto. I love that, I support that, that's brilliant. Anyway, Honey Lemon is into chemistry. The chemistry between her and Luisa is undeniable. I gotta drop it. And Honey Lemon breaks down an incredibly dense ball of metal into dust by spraying it with this pink chemical combo. Fred is the school mascot, but he has a big imagination and is a big fan of science despite knowing nothing about it.
I've been trying to get Honey to develop a formula that can turn me into a fire-breathing lizard at will, but she says that's not science.
It's really not.
Now I know what you're thinking.
Science rules.
But we haven't even gotten to the best invention. Tadashi made a healthcare assistant named Baymax. If you haven't seen the movie, this is probably the only thing you know about it. He is a giant marshmallow, and they even refer to him as such. He is activated when somebody makes a sound of pain, specifically in this movie, ow. And he can scan people's body to see what they need.
Scan complete. You have a slight epidermal abrasion on your forearm.
Tadashi even makes a point to show Hiro that this computer chip contains everything that Baymax has learned. And Tadashi's plan to steer his brother away from a life of crime worked. Hiro was like, wait, I can make inventions to help people and not for the robots to kill each other?
The only way to deal with these robot types is to find out what they know.
As I'm sure you already know, the movie and show follow the sweetest robot around. And specifically within the show, there are many villains whose minds are blown that tech can be used for good instead of evil. Maybe they wouldn't be so surprised that technology can be used for the betterment of society if they had this video sponsor, Surfshark. I put a little shark on my face. If you are online as much as I am, I'm sure you've heard the acronym VPN get thrown around a lot. But what does it mean? Explain it to me like I'm 5. Virtual Private Network. And Surfshark is the best around. Protect yourself from public Wi-Fi dangers, send or receive files securely, and access your bank safely. But aside from just keeping you safe, you can also access geo-blocked content, which is very important for what I do online. Surfshark has the most servers I've ever seen on a VPN. Over 3,200 in 100 countries. With so much value, usually companies will jack up the price, but with Surfshark, all you need to do is set up one account, and you can secure the whole household. Unlimited devices. And if that isn't generous enough, you also get a 30-day money-back guarantee. Secure your privacy with Surfshark. Enter coupon code Athena for an extra 4 months free at surfshark.com/Athena. Thank you so much to Surfshark for sponsoring this video. I can't wait to see what other shows I can access now. The world is my oyster. Now back to Big Hero 6. Hiro meets Professor Callahan, who is very famous in the robotics industry, and he's the head of the robotics program at Tadashi's school.
Magnetic bearing servos.
Want to see how I put them together?
Hey, genius! He invented them!
You're Robert Callahan.
Hiro pitches his new invention of microbots at the annual tech exhibition as a way to apply for the school. This is the most nervous we see Hiro, and I understand why. His invention of microbots links up with whatever you think about. He even says,
The only limit is your imagination.
presenting this invention would be my own personal hell as someone who has intrusive thoughts. I would be so worried I'd think of the wrong thing. Don't think about a giant butthole. Don't think about a giant butthole. Don't think about a giant butthole. Gulp. So as you can see, oh no! However, since Hiro isn't as mentally ill as I am, his presentation goes perfectly. He even pitches his invention as a way to build infrastructure that used to take teams of people to build. Why are you trying to eliminate jobs, Hiro? But one detail I loved is in the beginning of his presentation, this single microbot bowed, and then for whatever reason, this dude runs away. This little bowing robot would have piqued my interest. This one random background character is a loser. Speaking of, right after Hiro's presentation, we meet Allistair Krei, owner of Krei Tech. Basically, he's a billionaire and wants to buy Hiro's microbots. But Professor Callahan warns Hiro that this guy is only after his own self-interest, and that this slimeball also cuts corners. Hiro takes Callahan's advice. Tadashi catches Allistair Krei trying to steal one of Hiro's microbots. Allistair's secretary serves face before she leaves.
You better work, bitch.
And Tadashi and Hiro have a heart-to-heart. Tadashi is a wonderful older brother, a cutie patootie, and everyone's favorite character. I'm gonna hold your hand when I say this. A fire engulfs one of the university buildings, and since Professor Callahan was still in there, Tadashi runs in to save him. But he doesn't. The building blows up. And the next scene is a funeral. I'll let go in a second. I'm sorry, my palms are sweaty. Callahan and Tadashi's pictures are shown and everyone is mourning. This shot of Hiro on the stairs alone, and then the sequence of him not eating, is some of the realest, rawest scenes in all of Disney. We really get a sense of the hopelessness and depression. Seriously, this was really fucked up. I remember the first time I watched this movie, I was truly taken aback. I had no idea they were gonna kill off Tadashi. Hiro already got the dead parents treatment. I didn't know Disney would take more from him. We're only 25 minutes into this movie, by the way. Hiro contemplates bot fighting again, probably because being back at the college will be too painful, but when he accidentally drops his robot on his foot and says, ow, Baymax is activated. After Baymax scans Hiro, he sees no physical injuries, but multiple chemical imbalances, and assumes it's puberty, and hearing Baymax explain shouldn't be so endearing, but it is.
Diagnosis? Puberty.
When Hiro struggles to get Baymax to go away, he forgot he had to say, I'm satisfied with my care. I don't blame him, a lot has been going on. But this leads to him finding one of his microbots moving under his bed. He puts it in a petri dish and dismisses it as a glitch, but because Baymax is willing to exhaust any method to try and get Hiro to be happy again, he follows which way the microbot moves moves in the petri dish like a compass. Guys, I love Baymax. I know this is AI propaganda and we're supposed to hate them all, but that doesn't include Baymax, right? Baymax and Hiro find a storage unit full of microbots. They find this very Hunger Games Mockingjay-esque logo before they have to run from a supervillain in a kabuki mask, using the microbots to attack them. At this point in the movie, Baymax is not a fighter or flighter, but Hiro saves his slow ass while risking his own life. A parallel to his older brother going in harm's way to help somebody else out. R.I.P. And also, Hiro probably chose to save Baymax because this is one of the only things he has left of his brother. Very depressing. Wait till you get to the police scene.
Mr. Kabuki was using ESP to attack you in Balloon Man.
Yeah, so shockingly, he didn't believe this traumatized child and his deflating robot. They stopped wasting their time with this guy ignoring their pleas for help because Baymax's battery was running low, which caused him to act intoxicated.
I'm healthcare personal Baymax.
I love Baymax so much, even though he kept faking me out by saying, "Tadashi is here." You'll see what that means later, but no, he's not alive. The first time I saw it, I was wondering if Tadashi was actually the villain, but that twist would have made this movie a steaming pile of shit, so I'm glad they didn't go with that. Anyway, after Baymax talks to Hiro and learns that Tadashi is gone, he downloads a database on Lost, which he is able to do just by touching the computer. He also touches my heart when he hugs Hiro, and also when he's petting Mochi, one of the cutest cartoon cats of all time. Another part of this movie that warms my heart is just what a good mom Aunt Cass is. She may not know all the trouble Hiro is getting up to, but she's trying so hard. She's mourning Tadashi herself, but she's putting Hiro first and trying her hardest to get him back on track. Hiro wants to get revenge because now that he saw his microbots were stolen, he's convinced the fire wasn't an accident. He creates a new fighting chip for Baymax, and Baymax goes through with this because all he wants is Hiro to be happy. Hiro and armored up Baymax go back to the warehouse, but it's now abandoned. Kabuki Mask emerges from the sea in the most villainous, no, super villainous way.
Oh, you're a villain, all right. Just not a super one.
Yeah? What's the difference?
Presentation!
I also noticed a parallel during this scene at the docks. Baymax stopped Hiro from hurting himself in the same way Tadashi stopped Hiro from hurting himself. Tadashi truly lives on in Baymax. As they spy on him, all of Tadashi's friends pull up. This happens because scenes ago, Baymax alerted them that Hiro needs their emotional support. This is, of course, the worst time for them to show up, but they don't know that. Kabuki Mask splits up this touching reunion by throwing a crate at them.
Oh my god.
Baymax catches this crate, and Wasabi lets out a very high-pitched scream, and I was bracing for impact because I truly thought they'd do a Marvel-esque joke of all of them looking at him awkwardly. Maybe even one of them would proclaim, "Haha, your scream sounded like a girl." But no, they actually take this moment seriously and let the scene play out. Wasabi, being the careful person he is a very terrible getaway driver, even stopping at traffic lights. Go-Go takes over and San Francisco drifts into the next lane. Go, 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 go. I'm chanting go, go, and go, the name, but you can't really tell, right? They drive into the sea and sink. The villain looms over them and clearly assumes they're dead, but Baymax takes off his armor, inflates, and saves them. Fred says he knows a place for them to retreat and takes them to his family's mansion. I don't know how none of his friends knew that he lived there. It wasn't just news to Hiro, it was news to all of them. And guys, I want Fred's room so badly. And the giant mansion would be nice too, but especially this room. If you were wondering what me with more money would look like, it would just be this. I would just have a collection of bullshit. Maybe some dinosaur bones too. Oh my god. Fred shares the theory that he thinks the supervillain is Allistair Krei, and Hiro's mind is blown somehow. We even learned that the logo is Krei-Tech's logo. I thought this kid was supposed to be a genius. Isn't this the most obvious outcome? It is revealed that during the last attack, Baymax scanned the villain. So if they can scan the whole city, they can find out his location. Baymax gets an upgrade as well as the rest of the group, and then we see a montage of them trying out their new supersuits as Immortals by Fall Out Boy plays. The song slaps, but it also lies to us. They are not immortal. How many people have to die before we realize this? Baymax can now fly, and he has rocket arms that he can detach from his body. Wasabi has laser arms that he can slice things with, oh my god, like his invention. Go-Go has wheels that make her really fast, and she can also throw these discs, oh my god, like her invention. Honey Lemon has this purse full of different chemicals that she can combine, which she's been known to do. And Fred, in this monster suit, can now breathe fire, which I don't know how that's not triggering to Hiro. What about Hiro? For whatever reason, he doesn't give himself powers, and it really pisses me off. All he can do is attach to Baymax's back with magnets.
Why is his power being
Boo!
clingy?
One of the best parts of this scene, other than the song, is that Fred's butler helps them train. After figuring out how their powers work on the most basic level, they feel ready to confront the villain whose power is telekinesis, which is easily the most powerful thing. They find him on this island, all villains seem to be on islands, and it's very obvious they needed a plan. Somehow they're still able to take off the mask, so just like in Scooby-Doo, let's see who this villain really is. Professor Callahan? He used the microbots to survive the fire and said that Tadashi running in to save him was his fault. Listen, I don't think he's directly responsible for Tadashi's death. Did he set the fire? I might have missed that part. But you know what he is definitely responsible for? Repeatedly trying to kill Hiro and his other students. And Fred. Technically, he's not a student. Hiro's response is reasonable, I think. He goes back to his bot fighting days by trying to make Baymax kill Callahan. Also, understandably, Baymax cannot because of his programming. But when Hiro takes out Baymax's healthcare chip, he turns into a killing machine. His friends are outraged and save Callahan because they're above killing. They just wanted to turn him in. Guys, Hiro also wanted to turn him in. Turn him into a corpse! Come on, Hiro, get his ass! A great indicator that I need to go back to therapy is I am completely and unwaveringly on Hiro's side. The only thing that made me sad is hearing Baymax say,
My healthcare protocol has been violated. I regret any distress I may have caused.
The phrasing of that is devastating. And later on, Baymax refuses to let Hiro open up his chip compartment again. Hiro has a change of heart when Baymax shows him video clips of Tadashi testing out the healthcare chip. When Tadashi says this,
You're gonna help so many people, buddy. So many.
Hiro realizes revenge isn't what Tadashi would want him to do. Love this so much. It makes so much sense. Even I don't want to kill Callahan anymore. The next scene, which explains Callahan's Joker arc, both makes sense and doesn't. Callahan is seeking revenge on Allistair Krei. I love that they set this up super early in the movie. Allistair Krei had this teleporter, and even though there was a known glitch in the teleportation device, he sent Callahan's daughter into the machine and she never came out. This sets up Callahan as a parallel to Hiro, but this is super flawed because Callahan tried to kill people that aren't Allistair Krei, just to cover up his tracks. Hiro was just trying to kill Callahan. Like, maybe you can point to the scene where Kill Mode Baymax tossed his friends aside and Hiro didn't stop him, but they wouldn't have gotten hurt if they didn't get in his way. Is that Callahan's exact mentality? Fuck. He who seeks revenge dig two graves. That guy was onto something, I guess. Hiro's friends forgive him, and they start on their new journey to send Callahan to the Slammer, and also to stop him from killing everyone at Krei-Tech, I guess. I stand by what I said before. I don't think Hiro would do that. It's also especially disturbing to see Callahan like this, because in the beginning he really seemed to care about his students. Give this guy an Oscar, I suppose. The final fight sequence was fun. I like when Honey Lemon casually made a bomb.
Did somebody say boom?
And also when Fred used his sign spinning abilities. But my least favorite part was probably Hiro's words of encouragement when they were trapped. Think your way out of the problem. Look for a new angle. Why didn't they think of that themselves? They're scientists. Seriously. They end up taking Callahan down by sucking the microbots he's using to attack them up into the portal. Hiro and Baymax also go into that portal to save Callahan's daughter, who was apparently alive in there despite not eating and drinking for years. Get that fucking cinema sin sound in here. The biggest injury to Callahan was him realizing he could have saved his daughter after all. And instead of trying, he was responsible for somebody else's death. Gotta Callahan it to them. Pretty good punishment. While in the portal, the only way out was propelling themselves on Baymax's rocket hand, leaving Baymax behind. So that's what they did. At this point, I was fuming. Kid lost his parents, he lost his brother, and now Baymax? I'm sick to my stomach. I can't believe this is happening. One thing I will say is I really love the paramedics screaming in Callahan's daughter's face.
What is your name?
What's your name? I love that Callahan is being taken away. He doesn't even get the chance to reunite with his daughter. Justice. And in the end, Hiro notices Baymax's healthcare chip in his severed hand, and Hiro brought him back to life. Oh, this is the immortal they were talking about. Let's fucking go! And they even named the new university building after Tadashi, so his memory is also immortal. I hate the little end credit moment for the police officer, though. Fuck him, he didn't do anything. Like I said earlier, the only other critique I have of this movie is Callahan's 180. I get why they did it. It works super effectively for the twist villain, but I wish we saw anything behind his eyes when Hiro mentioned Tadashi. I don't know, if you're gonna try to make me empathize with him, at least commit. Luckily, this isn't the last we see of him. The most perfect part of this entire movie to me is the characterization of Baymax. His job and what he was programmed to do is help people. So he comes across as caring, but he also isn't explicitly given human emotions. Like, he doesn't say to Hiro, I love you so much, you're like a son to me. They truly don't overdo it, and I really appreciate that. I want to share my thoughts on some of these deleted scenes. Overall, I just think it's really funny that the movie was going to be more focused on the group. So a lot of these scenes give off the same vibe as the TV show, with admittedly funnier jokes. Let's go through all of them. So the first one is Fred coming up with the name for the group. I much prefer this deleted scene to the way it played out in the show. The way it played out in the show was very on the nose. It was a very, he said the title moment, as opposed to this deleted scene where it sounds like he's gonna say Big Hero 6 and then subverting expectations.
Big, heroic 6. That's it! Fred's Angels!
And also him saying, I was born ready. And premature. That might be like one of the funniest things Disney's ever written. I would be quoting that all the time, but I was actually born post-mature. My mom was due in April. I came out in May. I was agoraphobic even as a fetus. What was that quote that he said? Which means little human. Ah, that's been haunting me. That's scarier than even the deleted scene.
Seamless segue.
Of how they were going to introduce the villain at first, which would have been a jump scare and a half, actually. I think the scene where Tadashi and Fred were pitching Baymax, I don't think we needed it. The scene of the villain assembling a crew also seems like they just picked that up in the show. There was a prologue of Hiro being the genius kid even as a baby. They said it made the opening too slow. I'd have to agree with that. It's also very typical for Disney. It's like, yup, that's me. I was the different one. And everyone said that it was bad that I was different. I like the Final Cut's approach to show don't tell, and this was very telly. And lastly, the deleted scene of Fred initiating the team and being very persistent about it. Literally bar for bar what happens in the series, so I don't want to give too much away. We start with the episode Baymax Returns Part 1, and this is actually before Baymax Returns. The animation style of the series took me 1 or 2 episodes to get used to. Specifically the very sharp, geometric character designs. I hate the way they drew Tadashi's mouth, but then later on in the series it looks completely different. You couldn't stray further from the usual 3D puffy design that we're used to from the movie. But listen, it's a stylistic choice. It's like a comic book. It's Hiro's first day of college, the inventions look as fun as ever, and there's a new dean of the school, which makes sense because Callahan is in prison for life. We love to see it. Now we see Hiro doing the same fist bump he did in the movie. This is like their secret handshake. I never mentioned it because I would butcher it. Here's just a clip, okay? They reanimate the scene where he discovered the healthcare chip, but a new thing we see is that at first Baymax's personality was put into a computer while Hiro built a new body. The new dean is a hard ass, and at first I wondered why she didn't empathize with the 14-year-old boy starting college who is mourning 90% of his family. But you'll see why later. I wasn't expecting the lore of this show to go so hard. Fred is trying to convince the others to be heroes with him again and night patrol with him, but they're super not into it. The mobster robot fighter Yama is back, serving Sue Sylvester realness. Nothing is more menacing than a tracksuit, especially when you're running from the law. Speaking of which, the first prototype for Hiro's Baymax body leapt through the window. And as Hiro is chasing after him, both of them are caught by Yama. Yama was going to kill Hiro until he saw that he was a college student going to the nerd school.
Wait, you go to that nerd school?
And instead he makes a deal with him. Hiro has to get him the dean's powerful paperweight in exchange for Baymax's skeleton back. Fred helps him, and when their plan goes to shit, Yama obviously doesn't return the Baymax prototype. Why did they think he'd hold up his end of the deal? Luckily, the rest of the super team comes through to save them. They lecture Hiro and Fred about stealing, of course. Jeez, these guys are no fun. Not even a little crime? Feds, that's a joke. I'm an internet clown and an entertainer. And Baymax, in his puffy form, is back to normal by the end of the episode. But Yama still has some tricks up his sleeve. Because he cloned Baymax's skeleton. Why didn't they call the cops on him? Probably because they don't do anything. I'll cover the second half of this premiere in a bit, but first let's cover the first episode of the second series. We're back to the original art style. It feels more cozy to me. It's familiar. It's what I'm used to. I just have to be honest about that. This first episode follows Baymax, the titular bitchular, helping out Aunt Cass after she sprained her ankle. She is resistant to receiving help because she'd rather just run her cafe, but Baymax downloads information on how to run a small business so he can take over the cafe as she heals. I fucking love Baymax. But this leads me to a very important question. Why did he need a fighting chip? Couldn't he have downloaded it like this? I justified him downloading the personal loss database like this, because that just adds to his healthcare chip, but this is a completely new skill. Why wouldn't he need a chip for this? Cass struggles to rest because Baymax does not hustle. He is very slow with everyone's orders. Cass even sprains her other ankle,
Skill issue.
hopping away from Baymax. Baymax feels guilty, which is human of him, I can't even deny it. But something I love about this episode is we see community like we never have before. The customers of the cafe assure Cass that Baymax is doing a good job and that she needs to heal. This makes it seem like it's going to be a really feel-good series. And I think it was necessary to elaborate on healthcare since the other series really leans into the superhero group.
I wish the real Crimson Chin were here.
In the Marvel comics, the Big Hero 6 superhero team was away for Japan to defend itself. No San Francisco in sight. It was not invented yet. Some notable differences. Honey Lemon is naked now for some reason.
The P in Athena P stands for prude, I guess. Pfft, I thought she was cool.
Wasabi, looks the same. Just kidding, why is he white?
Can't just ask people why they're white.
Hiro's mom is alive. No mention of Tadashi. I do not think Hiro has an older brother in this. Baymax can disguise himself as a human, and in robot form he looks like a transformer. He's not a sweet, plushy boy. Hiro goes to a regular high school. We are in a less cool, more sexist multiverse, I'm afraid. No! But while we're here, let me mention the most notable events to happen in these comics from 2009. I'd cover the comics from 1998, when I was born, but they were far too expensive. I really can't justify that. Anyway, Brute, Gunsmith, and Whiplash all attack his school. Their powers are very straightforward. Gunsmith uses a gun. Whiplash uses a whip. Wow. Brute is super strong. They are taken down fairly easily with Honey Lemon's magical purse that gives her whatever she needs. Less about chemistry, more about manifestation. Go-Go's powers are pretty much the same, and Wasabi uses chi through his swords. It gives off a very similar green glowing effect that movie Wasabi has with his laser scythe hands. Hiro is inside a VR security camera thing with Baymax, and they're analyzing what happened during the attack, but all of a sudden a mysterious woman pops into the system. Her name is Fury, or maybe Furry? I want to say Furry. And she tells them she created the team. She tells them she needs them in New York, to which Hiro says, direct quote, "Why us? The Americans have more super beings than anyone. Why not simply call the Avengers?" Marvel loves name-dropping their own stuff. Honestly, it inspires me.
Why haven't you made a Wild Kratts or Fresh Meat Band video yet? I have the most videos on YouTube, more than anyone. Why not simply watch my Exploding Kittens video? Or my Lin-Manuel Miranda video?
Diagnosis: cringe.
You're not even a doctor in this version, bitch.
The second comic starts with them fucking with Fred, and as you can see, he's labeled the new member of the team. No context, we're just jumping into it. Hiro meets a girl his age who's also an inventor, so of course, they blush at each other. Fred is completely opposite of how he is in the movie. He's serious to himself, and he actually has a Godzilla-like monster inside of him. Not like, stop. In issue 4, we find out that Go-Go has Sonic the Hedgehog powers, and we find out that the villains from the first copy, Gunsmith, Whiplash, and Brute, possess people's bodies. And they're actually used by a villain named Bad Gal, another super creative name. The only reason that the villains didn't defeat the heroes is Furry has a glass eye. So when Gunsmith possessed her, It was in her eye, and she took out her glass eye and smashed it. What will the last comic, Comic 5, throw at us? Aliens. Dude, no wonder Disney had to change everything. This story is so difficult to follow and all over the place. Why did they have to be disguised as Long Island high schoolers, playing football in Volume 2? Why do they have to protect Dr. Iosama, a character we learn nothing about? And furthermore, why should I care about any of them? Also, Hiro's internal monologue is so annoying. Dude can't stop brain yapping. I mean, same. But his is kind of like this. I didn't know what would come next for us, but one thing's for sure. We were surrounded. And as Fred's reptilian aura grew, I knew we had to take cover. You don't want to mess with that guy. But for whatever reason, everyone keeps messing with me. Is it because I'm just a regular schmegular 14-year-old that just so happens to be a genius? Life's tough when you're the outcast. I'm bored. Comic 5 opens with the United States government interrogating them. When did the government capture them? What happened to the aliens? And guess what the purpose of the high schoolers from Comic 2 was? It was to free them from house arrest. As if the NYPD doesn't shoot rubber bullets and pepper spray for far less. In this, they were just like, oh, I guess there's nothing we can do. There's too many of them. Once they get to the alien base, they start talking about conversations they've already had with the aliens, to the point where I actually went back to the 4th comic to see if I missed anything, and I didn't. So much happens off the page. Someone in the comments is going to have to explain it to me, because I rage quit. This is a first for the lore series. I hate them so much I couldn't finish it.
And now, back to the show.
Picking up where the first half of the first episode of Big Hero 6 the series left off, Yama has a robot army. But turns out he's not even the biggest boss. He presented these to his boss, who was only half impressed, because he's still trying to get the paperweight from the dean. Wonder why he wants it so bad. Fred still really wants to form the superhero team with his friends, and once again, they're all uninterested. At first, Hiro was the only one on his side, until the dean, Professor Grace Granville, lectures him and tells him to not be like Fred. Harsh. Hiro finally focuses on his studies, but Fred is relentless. I think we're supposed to side with him, but dude has no respect for boundaries. So when Fred finally decides to give up, I actually considered that to be character development. He was finally hearing his friends out instead of only acting in his own self-interest. But when crime arises with these bots, they're forced to go back into hero work. None of them are excited, especially not Hiro, who feels responsible because the only reason that robot skeleton went haywire and ran into Yama is because he didn't run diagnostics like Baymax told him to. When Yama and his robots are tearing the school apart looking for the paperweight, Baymax, disguised as them, retrieves the paperweight and almost gets away with it until Yama accidentally dropped a book on his head and said, "Ow," triggering Baymax's signature intro. The paperweight cracks, revealing its ability to increase the power level of any tech around it. This causes a train to go way too fast, and the team have to work together to stop it. Once it's in Hiro's hands, who's flying with Baymax, Baymax begins to fly faster. Because, and I think Hiro forgot this, Baymax is also powered by electricity, so of course the power enhancer is going to affect Baymax. I thought they'd return the powerful paperweight to the dean, so this can continue to be the villain's motivation, but instead we see Hiro's magnetic hands and the other abilities they have. He changed the polarity of the item, expanding it, throwing it into the air, and having the paperweight explode. Is that how magnets work? I clearly don't know enough about magnets. Also, because the team feels great protecting people, they said Fred was right and formed the team again. The only reason Fred is correct is because the cops can't do anything right. And we get this menacing big bad shot at the end. We haven't seen Obake's face yet, but there's already something very Tumblr about him. They also haven't said his name yet, so forget I said that. Let's start with the other villains we meet in Season 1. In episode 3, we meet High Voltage, a mother-daughter dance and crime duo. As they perform, they can electrocute people and cause machinery to malfunction. Barb, the mother, has to keep reminding Juniper that they're in it for the money they steal and not the applause they receive from the idiot pedestrians watching. I feel like stupid town or city people is present in every single superhero franchise. We don't see these two again until episode 18, where they're briefly not on good terms, and they do villainy solo. In the same episode, Fred revealed to his nemesis, Richardson Mole, that he's part of Big Hero 6. Did I mention the whole secret identity part of the story? Richardson then blackmails them to let him be a part of the team. Richardson is a god-awful addition. He even helped High Voltage make up. up. He insulted Juniper's dance moves to the point where Barb, her mother, jumped in to defend her. A touching reunion that even ended with them being thrown in jail. Leftover electricity shocked Richardson, and he doesn't remember the information he learned. Classic convenient memory loss. In episode 4, a man named Dibs steals Honey Lemon's chemistry purse, and then he also steals Allistair Krei's rip-off version of Hiro's microbot transmitter. We'll get back to Allistair Krei's bitch ass in a second, but during Dibs' thievery, a chemical compound from the purse, mixed with the neurotransmitter, caused him to become a slime monster that Fred called Globby, and everyone else just ran with that name, so he's Globby now. Globby returns for the first time in episode 8, Failure Mode. He tries to steal a painting from the museum, and while the heroes retrieve the painting back, Globby got away. He slips past them, bouncing away like a ball. He's starting to learn how to use his powers with a neurotransmitter, even learning that he could change what he's made out of. From metal to water to ice to rock to various desserts, to wood to brick to acid. He's mastered all 8 elements. He ate. If Callahan from the first movie had this ability, they'd be called Big Hero Zero, because he would have killed all of them. What I'm saying is Globby is way too overpowered. They're lucky he's fully incompetent. Even so, he got away with the painting in the end, and he gives the painting, which is actually scientific blueprints, to Obake, the big bad guy, and we see his face for the first time, and I was right, he is a Tumblr sexy man. In episode 5, a villain called Baron von Steamer crashes Fred's family's stuffy rich people party. I'm going to talk about this villain, but first I have to address that the top 5 funniest moments in this series happened this episode. Baymax was trying to tell someone how well they were healing and accidentally made them self-conscious because he announced their nose job. Oh, Baymax, you socially unaware Pillsbury Doughboy king. Anyway, Baron von Steamer is not only steampunk, but he also uses steam as a weapon to burn things. He's a very old-timey villain that's only making a comeback to get revenge on Fred's dad, who's a hero called Boss Awesome, voiced by Marvel's very own Stan Lee. I love how he always gets to voice a character that looks exactly like him. I thought Boss Awesome's first appearance was within the show, and my first impression was, why didn't Fred mention that in the movie if he knew this whole time? But actually, he found out in an after-credit scene that I didn't know about until editing this video. So I feel really silly. In episode 20, Baron von Steamer sends a threat their way, and Fred's dad, Boss Awesome, gives them the advice to let Baron capture them so he can monologue about his whole plan. I love a Dr. Doofenshmirtz style villain.
Must resist oversharing.
In episode 5, we meet Mamakase. Mamakase is a chef who uses her knife skills to steal the anti-gravity device from Allistair after poisoning him. I was rooting for her. Mamakase becomes more important later on. Episode 7, we meet Ned Ludd, who does not like technology. He used to be fueled by greed and was going to destroy the forest, until somehow this meteor saved him, which is why he now lives in the woods and swears to protect it. He also names the meteor Bessie. This convoluted backstory causes him to spiral when he meets Baymax, and he wants to destroy him. I thought this would be a one-off character, given that he's not even fully a villain, just a misguided kook, but he returns in season 2, so I guess remember this guy. The Mad Jacks are a villainous trio with flying and shooting armor. Their debut is in episode 10, The Impatient Patient. They also have a theme song that includes a sped-up disclaimers portion about how they will not be held responsible for wreaking havoc. They're campy. I love it. Oh, and they're working for Obake. By the end of the episode, Obake successfully used the Jacks. They thought they were going to steal the chip that Krei very sketchily received in the beginning of the episode, but the only reason Obake sent the Mad Jacks is because he knew they'd fail. He wanted to get in Allistair's head and make him paranoid enough to not trust his own researchers to analyze the chip because he thought it was an inside job. Allistair Krei plugged this chip into his computer, and he thought the worst thing that happened was that it was an empty chip and he paid for nothing. But he had no idea that this chip just sent all of the information from his computer over to Obake, including the hero's secret identities. Krei is one of the only people to know somehow. This show might have as many villains as Word Girl, because just when I think there can't be any more, there are. In episode 11, we get an influencer villain. This is Mr. Sparkles. He hosts a Mr. Beast-like dangerous game show. Honestly, it's more like American Ninja Warrior. I just made the comparison because of his morals. Mr. Sparkle loses it when Mochi surpasses him in popularity, and he tries to kill mochi. This is the second worst thing a YouTuber has ever done to a cat. I knew he wouldn't get away with this, so why was I actually freaking the fuck out? Can Baymax prescribe me some Zoloft? I really do have anxiety and should probably try medication at some point.
I hate him! I hate him!
Speaking of villains, Allistair Krei. Remember the sketchy billionaire who cuts corners? He is a recurring character, but for whatever reason they keep protecting him, even though he continues to steal people's ideas and mislead them to believe their tech will be used for a different purpose, as seen in episode 9. And he is continuing to cut corners by rushing the tech of dangerous self-defense robots. Self-defense robots that also come with cloaks that can turn them invisible or change the appearance to look like anything else in the world. What can go wrong with that, huh? I don't have to say it, but it's way too powerful. Once again, there was a glitch he didn't know about, and he blackmails the members of Big Hero 6 to fix it for them, or he'll reveal their identity. And not only is this sketchy freak apparently legally untouchable, but he also gets to go on a date with Aunt Cass. It's not fair! Luckily, she dropped him by the end of the episode, but in the very next episode, The Impatient Patient, they have to save Krei again. This is like Creek's appearance in the Trolls TV show. It's just here to piss me off. Like, look at the destruction I caused. In episode 12, we meet the perfect mascot, Noodle Burger Boy. Unfortunately, this sweet, adorable creature is corrupted by Obake. But how difficult he is to defeat is actually also Krei's fault. Krei Tech made the burger mascot out of military-grade material for some reason, which makes him nearly indestructible. He delivers this news without a hint of shame to the team, and then kicks them out of his office without even offering to help. We even see another version of Allistair Krei-like corruption in the character Trengrove from the episode Small Hero 1. Trengrove stole Wendy's ideas and based his whole career off of a lie. At least by the end, Trengrove confesses, unlike Krei. But still, both talentless billionaire men receive no lecture and no legal action. Maybe the other seasons address it? They don't. In episode 5, Hiro made a dance chip for Baymax so he can teach Fred before his stuffy rich party. Wouldn't it be easier to make an exoskeleton-like suit for him to wear under his clothes to control Fred's movements like a puppet? Come on, Hiro, get creative. Jimmy Neutron would never bother with this shit. In this series, Baymax also has a new catchphrase. Oh no. And because the writers love having him say this, they make Baymax specifically lose a lot. I get very tired of it. I want to see him help more. In the episode The Impatient Patient, Hiro is sick and Baymax encourages him to rest. The one time Hiro got out of bed to help the team, he broke his leg. He must take after Aunt Cass because this is exactly what happens to her in the first episode of Baymax. They're both so clumsy and stubborn. Anyway, Hiro made a suit where he can take down the Mad Jacks remotely, controlling the suit like a video game. If I were him, I would only fight like this. He's so much more useful to the team this way. It took them halfway through season 1 to find out a way to transport their super suits to them wherever they are. This invention is called SkyMax, and it's controlled through an app. In episode 14, Obake continues to use psychological warfare to find out more about Big Hero 6. He gets help from Globby and Noodle Burger Boy. First, Globby has to get into Hiro's head about not having any powers like the rest of them, and always having his friends back him up. Damn, that's what I was just saying. Obake, who was spying on Hiro this whole time, was at first disappointed that he chose super strength. Such a basic choice. But once Hiro embraced his own strengths by the end, and discovered the evil chip Noodle Burger Boy left behind, Hiro knew someone else was behind all of this, and that they purposely made him mentally spiral. Obake concludes that Hiro is very smart, and he's extremely happy about this. At first I thought Obake just liked a challenge. It's so much more than that. I really enjoy this dude as a villain. In episode 15, when Obake and Mamakase work together, Gogo discovers that she can use all 4 wheels to drive full speed up walls. I think this is the only time we've seen her do this, but it was cool. It was really effective in this chase sequence. In the episode Minimax, Hiro makes a tiny robot to babysit Fred when he has to go on missions alone when the rest of them are doing schoolwork. If he knew Minimax was a babysitter, he would be incredibly insulted. But he believes this robot is just a sidekick for him, and that's truly what Minimax turns into. He never finds out about its original purpose.
Wait a minute! Who are you?
In episode 3, we meet Karmi. Karmi used to be the youngest person at the school until Hiro showed up, and she's clearly very bitter about this and dislikes Hiro because of it. She also has trouble making friends. When I saw Karmi draw this lovey-dovey picture, I really thought it was Go-Go at first, but it turns out she has a crush on Hiro, but only when he's in his super form. And also, of course, she has no idea he's himself. Karmi has minor appearances throughout season 1, but she doesn't play a major role again until episode 16, fanfiction. It's exactly what you expect. She narrates her fanfiction, we see it animated as little chibis. Baymax has a Sailor Moon transformation, and we hear the name she gave them. Wasabi is Chop Chop. Go-Go is Speed Queen. I wish she got Go-Go's name right, because she got pretty close with Chop Chop. Fred is Flame Jumper, Honey Lemon is, get this, Tall Girl, Baymax is Red Panda, and Hiro is... oh my god, she's so obsessed with him. She calls him Captain Cutie. And what's even better is she posted her fanfiction online, and instead of her peers bullying her, her significantly older peers bullying her, they love it. Everyone's a big fan of her fanfiction. Oh, the cursed things I wrote online before I wiped it all. This is Turning Red level accurate, and I'm deeply uncomfortable. Her fanfiction gets so popular that the villains even use her as bait. Her fanfiction also inspired Hiro to make an overdrive mode for Baymax, which causes him to look Transformer-ish like in the comics. It also uses up so much of Baymax's energy that he goes into low battery mode and sounds drunk again, which is always a treat.
I did the thing!
When they rescue Karmi and use the catchphrases she gave them, we get this adorable moment from Fred where he talks about ships.
I'm banking on Wasabi being a fan favorite. I mean, look at him. He's so cool.
I would ship Fred Sabi from this alone, but I think Fred would really stress Wasabi out. Speaking of ships, it seems like Hiro is reciprocating Karmi's feelings a little bit, and I really wish they were just friends. I don't see it at all. In episode 19, we've come full circle because now Hiro is jealous of Karmi because she impressed this very important science person. There's too many characters. I'll only learn her name if she pops up again. I'll only learn her name if she pops up again.
He's just standing there, menacingly.
Lenore Shimamoto, the artist whose painting hid her specific blueprints, is way more important than I thought she'd be. First of all, they established parallels between her and Honey Lemon because they're both scientists and artists. The art school and the science school have a big rivalry with each other, which leads to a huge prank day. This is why Honey Lemon was so afraid to tell her friends that she was taking classes at the art school. Much like her name, there are two sides to her. But during this prank day, Honey Lemon accidentally stumbled into Lenore's old lab. She took Lenore's journal and read all of it until she got to the empty pages. Then Obake, disguised as a teacher from the art school, convinces her to give it to him. What's really funny is that Obake put on a disguise despite none of the kids meeting him yet. This must mean he's A, already in the system, so the law is right behind him. So every time he leaves his lair he has to dress up, or B, he just knows he looks untrustworthy and menacing. I'm leaning towards the latter. Once the heroes catch Obake by tracking Honey Lemon's school ID that she used as a bookmark in the journal, Obake is just sitting there waiting for them before he puts them in different torture rooms like Saw, giving them little riddles to help them out of their specific predicaments. He stays there as they do this, testing their intelligence, and then he disappears. He gives off "wanna see me do a trick" vibes. At the end of the episode, we see him decoding the seemingly empty pages of Lenore's diary. At the end of the episode Small Hero 1, Hiro questions Professor Granville's intentions after learning that she's taught at this school before but didn't make this information known. I knew instantly this would be trauma-related. They can't have two deans be evil. Throughout the series, Professor Granville has been trying to hold Hiro back, and there's a reason for that, but before it was revealed, Hiro visits Callahan in jail to question him about Granville. This is the first time we've seen him since the movie. It's incredibly cathartic to see him in jail. He gave Hiro a whole lot of nothing about Granville, but he did thank Hiro for saving his daughter and apologized for Tadashi. Hiro drops this cold line.
I know it's not enough, but I'm sorry.
Tadashi would have wanted me to forgive you. Someday I hope I can.
And then left, never seeing him again. I loved it. I really didn't think they'd pick up on the one flaw I had from the movie, but they absolutely crushed it. Anyway, Granville tells Hiro that she worked with a really talented student back in the day, and she let him have full lab access to conduct any experiment he wanted unsupervised. And this is how he hurt himself really badly. The moment this flashback played, I knew that was Obake. Something I didn't mention is that his face glows purple sometimes, and I imagine this is how that happened. We meet Trina in episode 21, the bot fighter, and I was honestly really shocked. Another new villain as Obake is carrying out his huge plan. Hiro goes back into bot fighting to follow a lead that Yama is behind a series of robberies. But he gets distracted by Trina, a girl around his age. He keeps telling his friends he's going back into bot fighting to investigate Yama, but really at this point, he's just going back to hang out with Trina. She gives him a kiss on the cheek, he's smiling thinking about her. He has such a big crush on her that he gets thrown in jail again, and after Aunt Cass bailed him out, practically crying, he still runs back to hang out with Trina. At the end of the episode, it was revealed that Trina was the one robbing the banks. She got away and he feels like a fool, but that's not the biggest gag. She goes back to Obake and calls him father. Oh, that's the big twist, right? Her face opens up and she shows him footage of Hiro because she's a fucking robot. She even bows her head slightly, and they embrace, showing that there's at least an illusion of love and family. I'm losing my mind. This just got 1,000 times more interesting. Also, when she kissed Hiro's cheek, did it not feel like metal? Is it like Sophia? Is it like the robot Sophia? In the episode right before the hour-and-a-half season 1 finale, our group go to a haunted house. It seems a bit silly and cheesy, like all good haunted houses should be, but I thought nothing of it. I thought this was the calm before the storm. Later on in the episode, Hiro keeps seeing Tadashi everywhere he goes. At first, he seems just like Tadashi, but as the conversation progresses, this thing gets astronomically less convincing and drops the act so quickly.
Aunt Cass would not let you out this late.
I was...
You just snuck out?
I didn't sneak.
Without telling her where you were going? It's good to see nothing's changed. You shouldn't waste your talents fixing my old work.
How's my favorite grandson, Eugene Krabs? Now hand me the secret formula! Even though that tone shift was abrupt, it was still genuinely unnerving. Hiro is being haunted by visions of his dead brother, while the others are seeing their greatest fears. When Gogo punches her fear, which is leprechauns, for some reason, I headcanon she watched the horror movie Leprechauns when she was far too young and it just stuck with her. Anyway, she tries punching the leprechaun and her hand goes through. Her and Hiro start putting together the pieces that this is augmented reality. They think back to the haunted house in the section that blew air in their face. Obake set this up to blow digital imaging lenses into their eyes. How did they not feel them? Regardless, seeing their reality go back to normal after this first-person shot of them taking out the contact lenses was so creepy. Obake even studied Tadashi's mannerisms through Baymax's testing tapes. This plan has a lot of moving parts. A lot of henchmen picking up equipment as he examines the hero's weak points through constant surveillance. Obake is genuinely one of the best villains I've ever seen. Let's see if he sticks the landing in the season finale. Hiro's behind on his final assignment, and after they get a briefcase back from Glabi, they see a failed energy amplifier inside. Oh my god, like the one from the first episode. They didn't abandon the concept. In fact, it really sets everything into motion. Hiro really wants to fix the energy amplifier for his project, but Professor Granville not only rejects his proposal, but also gets extremely upset about it. It's obvious this is what caused her previous student to get really hurt, but Hiro doesn't put 2 and 2 together for whatever reason, and she also doesn't spell it out for him until after it's too late, so he's going against her word. Meanwhile, Honey Lemon is doing her project on Lenore Shimamoto, and in Shimamoto's lab, she found this wax cylinder, which is a really cool old-fashioned way of recording audio. Also used in the Tangled Season 1 finale, which is wild. Wasabi's obsessive cleaning finally comes in handy when the wax filter is covered with so much dust and grime, and the audio is too muffled to listen to. Fred tells the others that they're going to pretend to have the energy amplifier to have Glabi go after them. But 2 major things go wrong. 1, Hiro doesn't show up, and 2, Noodle Burger Boy does. Side note, Noodle Burger Boy, much bigger character than I thought he'd be. He pretty much outlives everyone. During the fight, Noodle Burger Boy targets Baymax specifically because Hiro is not there. This has consequences we don't see until much later. It kind of looks like I'm permanently mewing with the Obake makeup on.
Like a baka.
The final presentation is open to the public to make this moment even more dramatic. And it works way too well. I hate how much this show is making me audibly gasp. Anyway, at the presentation, we hear what Lenore Shimamoto recorded on the wax cylinder. She confesses that she tried to make a machine that would make unlimited energy, but instead she caused the Great Catastrophe, a massive earthquake in 1906. Here's where Lenore's an idiot though, because why did you hide the blueprints to that disaster machine in your painting? Which Obake has, by the way. If she was so ashamed and devastated over what happened, why didn't she destroy those blueprints? Globby, Mamakase, and Noodle Burger Boy create a distraction by attacking the open house. Meanwhile, Obake is stealing the energy generator that Hiro made. Granville feels like now is a good time to confess to Big Hero 6 that she knows their secret identities, and she spells out Obake's backstory. He used to be known as Bob Acre. Removing the first and last letter of your name to create your villain name is so hilarious. Usually I'm Athena Sherman. But henceforth, when I'm committing crime, I shall be known as Athena Sherman! Part 2 of the 3-part finale ends with Hiro being taken to Obake by Baymax, who Noodle Burger Boy during the fight put the evil chip into. Why didn't he lock his chip compartment like he did with Hiro in the movie? We're gonna move on from that. We're gonna suspend our disbelief. While in Obake's lab, Hiro finds out very quickly and casually that Tina is a robot. I thought they'd make a bigger deal about that. Part 3 opens with Obake's evil monologue, where he explains his whole plan. Lenore Shimamoto's invention made a star that collapsed, which caused all the devastation. Obake reveals he wants to do that, but even bigger, and wipe out all of San Francisco, so that he can create a new city with his protege, Hiro.
Why didn't I listen to Granville?
Because, like me, you were meant to push limits.
But just like with every other villain that monologues, this leads to his downfall. One of his henchmen, Globby, is very shocked to find out that this was Obake's end goal. Globby did not sign up for wiping out San Francisco.
I don't want to destroy the city. All my friends live there. Felony Carl and, Felony Carl.
That's the whole list, isn't it?
We find out that the explosion from Obake's childhood caused a blockage in the part of the brain that can tell right from wrong. Very similar to the Lion Guard. But this whole time I thought this purple glowing thing would be a power, but no, his only power is being unhinged due to childhood trauma. Globby helps Hiro escape, and they stop the explosion from the star by creating an equal and opposite force. Okay, Newton's law of motion.
Science rules.
The only problem is the giant wave that'll be caused by the impact, so Globby acts as a dam, and we have this cute moment.
Tell Felony Carl he was my whole list.
There is so much love here, and at first I didn't know if they were best friends or lovers, and I was a bit hesitant to jump on the ship train as much as I wanted to, because you guys always say I ship too much, and that people could just be friends. But I can and will ship, and you'll see later that that was the right choice. Obake is devastated that he lost. He took out Baymax's evil chip and sent him back to save Hiro. Obake also decides that if he can't carry out his master plan, he'd rather just die instead. Holy shit! Remember this blonde lady? The very important science person that Karmi impressed? Well, she's here again, so I have to learn her name. This is Liv Amara. She is the founder of a biotech company called Sycorax, where Karmi is interning. Hiro is still not taking Karmi's success well, so he decides to intern at Krei Tech. Hiro, no! Noodle Burger Boy is malfunctioning because he went underwater with Obake's lair. He goes to Krei Tech where he was made, and also where Allistair Krei is treating Hiro terribly. Are we surprised? No! Hiro has to fix Noodle Burger Boy or Allistair Krei dies. Would that really be the worst thing? Just remembered the lesson from the movie, okay? Whatever. Hiro tries to remove the Obake chip from Noodle Burger Boy, but Trina, Obake's robot daughter, stops him. Loving her new hair, loving the fact that her and Noodle Burger Boy have a sibling-like relationship, but hate that Krei is saved. Not only that, he doesn't know his assistant's name, and when Hiro tries backing out of the internship, Krei reminds him of the contract he signs, meaning Hiro will be Krei's intern for another year. Mamakase broke out of jail and is now working for Liv Amara. Our heroes do not know about this alliance yet. Mamakase has also changed. She has reptilian eyes, Wolverine claws, and is partially electronic. In the season 1 episode when Liv was introduced, we also saw this monster that looks like if you put a whale and a dinosaur and some hair into a blender and then poured that into a human-shaped ice tray and froze it and then let it thaw just a little bit. I honestly don't think it looks like that at all. Since the monster was following a man named Orso Knox's schedule, and quoting Shakespeare, one of Orso's favorites, they knew somehow that the monster was Orso. But what they didn't catch on to are the specific lines he recited. They say the name of the show where these quotes come from, The Tempest, but they didn't make the connection that he was trying to warn them about their own Tempest. This plot doesn't pick up again until season 2, episode 3, titled Prey Date, where Orso, as a monster, is being held by Sycorax. It seems like he was even more monster-like than before, and this is the biotech company that promised to help him. Then, after Karmi was persistently trying to help, Orso was turned back to normal. But the episode ends with Liv threatening Orso that she can turn him back again, and he also has an electric opening in his skin just like Mamakase. In episode 4, Something's Fishy, we start to see some upgrades from our heroes. Fred got a new chameleon suit with camouflaging abilities. We were led to believe that High Voltage had some character development, leaving a life of crime behind them, until Liv shows up and blackmails them, and mutates them to turn into these eel creatures that no longer need an orb to generate electricity. Episode 5, Hiro upgrades Honey Lemon's purse to shoot the chemicals out. Cool? Yes. Useful? Yes. It also looks like a leaf blower. Mr. Sparkles, the influencer villain, returns. Gogo tries to catch up with him, and we see now that Gogo has her own supercar that can drive to wherever she is using the same app that Skymax uses. Even with that ability, not only did Mr. Sparkles escape, but he met up with Liv to get powers like the rest of the villain team. Episode 7 is when Ned Ludd, remember the kooky man in the woods? Liv stole his meteor and planted a chip on him to turn him into the Hebagon, the very creature he confessed he pretended to be to scare away people from the woods in his first appearance. Mochi the cat was actually the one to turn him back by swatting the chip off of him. Now Hiro has the chip, so maybe Baymax can scan it for DNA. Also, Krei was halfway decent this episode. It's the only time that happens. Episode 8, Hiro is suspicious of Liv because she always seems to pop up where the monsters are. Hiro, is that your only evidence? I literally saw her being evil, and even I'm not convinced with that fucking argument. What about analyzing the chip? Whatever, dude. Liv made these axolotl fungus creatures, and I was already bracing for impact. I hate gremlins and twonky creatures. This one, however, isn't as bad because they go back to normal. They're even seen domesticated at the end. Anyway, what is the purpose of these cuties then? Liv successfully framed Mr. Sparkles as the one to create these creatures because she gave him this same fungus mutation. Perfect influencer power, not because he's a fun guy, and not because his show is a trip, but because he's being compared to something that spreads rapidly even when no one wants them. Big Hero 6 is still very suspicious of Liv. In episode 10, Hiro adds a lie detector chip to Baymax. This is the perfect plan, Hiro.
That was a lie.
We have this wonderful underwater fight with High Voltage, Mr. Sparkles. I'm shit at summarizing action sequences, so I'm not even going to try. Bessie the Meteor also mutated into a monster. Skipping to the end now, Hiro asked Liv if she's the one making the monsters, and she said,
Liv Amara is not creating the monsters.
Wait, why is she talking in the third person? Because she's not actually Liv. Not the evil twin trope. Oh my god, who are you? I'm the real Athena. Don't trust this imposter. If you're the real Athena, say something I mean we would say. Maybe after this you should go on either of these two videos and comment the twins sent me. Sorry for the self-promo, it's just been rough out here. Maybe this season is called Fall because that's what my views are doing. Wake me up when September ends. Wow, that was awesome. You can stay. Actually, I don't want to. What? The end of this arc did not hit as hard as Obake. R.I.P. Obake. This blonde we've come to know as Liv tasks Karmi to come up with a way to destroy these parasites. She comes up with a solution, but when the parasites team up, they are way too strong. She needs microscopic robots to separate them. And for whatever reason, Hiro helps her with this with no follow-up questions. Dude, you know she works for fake Liv. What are you doing? Hiro upgrades their suits again. Gogo has a hoverboard disc. Wasabi has a plasma shield. field. Honey Lemon has shoes.
This guy's got shoes!
So she can glide on whatever element she creates. Baymax can hold Transformer Beast mode a little bit longer. With this energy sword, Hiro can create energy ropes to grip onto things or launch himself and others. They nerfed Fred a bit. His new power is super hearing and flashlights. I think they would have come up with something cooler if they didn't already give him the chameleon suit a few episodes earlier. After Karmi presents the solution to the parasite virus to live, air quotes, instead of thanking her, she turns Karmi into a monster. Before Karmi transforms, she calls Hiro to help her. But once he's there and isolated, blonde bitch previously known as Liv flips the switch. Holy shit, why is Karmi the scariest one so far? We find out the blonde's real name, Diana, but she calls herself Di. Threatening nickname to be sure. And she's not a twin, she's a clone. Created for the sole purpose of healing Liv, who has these parasites. So what's up with all the monsters? This is what she had to say.
I found turning people into monsters can be very lucrative.
Weak explanation, honestly. They would have helped you if you just asked them. Also, she sends the other monsters to attack the city, so the team doesn't help Hiro escape. They have their hands full. Baymax and Hiro healing Liv is one of the most surreal things I've ever seen. They are mini microbot bot fighters now. Yeah, they're not only mind controlling the microscopic things, but their faces are on them for whatever reason, to add to the dramatic tension. Liv is gonna live. But even after Hiro and Baymax help them, Di still tries turning them into monsters. Liv sees her clone acting evil and says, "I'm very disappointed in you." Liv is livid. But dude, she's a clone of you. Are you secretly a freak too, or did something go wrong in the cloning process? They never explain, but Diana is in jail. That's it. I really like the monster transformations. I just wish the plan was more coherent. And I feel like they set the bar really high with Obake. One major thing that happened as a result of this fight is Karmi moved. Her parents didn't feel like it was safe there. Honestly, parenting W. If I saw that my kid was turned into this through their internship that they got through the school, I would fucking sue. I should have known they'd replace Karmi because episodes ago, we met Megan, a girl around Hiro's age. Her dad is also a cop that doesn't trust the heroes. Not a heroes versus cops plot. If there are heroes, why do cops even exist? Just put the fries in the bag, bro. I actually hate that meme. And now in episode 14, the first episode of the second arc of season 2, Megan is trying to uncover the secret identities of Big Hero 6. Episode 15 follows a new villain. Jesus Christ, how many villains are there? I even skipped over Granny Go-Go, Supersonic Sue, and her grandson, Supersonic Stu. I also skipped over the evil clone of Globby, because I'm not saying that name. I'm just not gonna do it. You are gonna hear me mention him, though, later, using a different name. Globby was framed. But I can't ignore El Fuego, because it leads to this great arc of Hiro feeling like he has to defend Tadashi's honor. And also, I thought their identities were supposed to remain a secret. What the fuck is Fred doing? He's in front of a crowd! Unfortunately, because everyone saw evil Globby, they thought OG Globby was evil, and when Big Hero 6 tried to explain this to bitter cop dad, he tried arresting them for assisting a fugitive. This bacon is extra salty. It's always the characters that piss me off that pursue Aunt Cass romantically. Since Big Hero 6 have to lay low for a while, the police get a reality check. There's another new villain named Hardlight, and I can't even be frustrated because he called bitter cop dad an NPC. The insult also goes with his theme. He's a video game villain. We find out the identity of Hardlight is the new employee at Krei Tech. That's Krei's fault somehow. You gotta get better at the hiring process. Episode 18 is a Christmas special, and they're saying it's Hiro's first Christmas without Tadashi. This movie and whole series up until this point took place in a year? In episode 19, Hiro the villain, Mamakase blackmails Hiro that she's going to reveal his identity unless he helps her commit a crime. Luckily, the crime was pretty justified. Yama stole a family possession of her. She was just stealing it back. Meanwhile, Megan and her bitch dad are sticking their noses where they don't belong. even interrogating Callahan, who defends Big Hero 6. The episode ends with Megan disappointedly sighing when she reveals that all roads lead back to Hiro when she's trying to uncover the secret identity. I hate the trope of a secret identity being this huge betrayal. First of all, you've only known him for a month. Second of all, if I found out one of my friends was a superhero, I'd say thank you, and that's cool as fuck. Episode 20, would you believe me if I told you? Don't say it. There's another villain. Fuck! She's a circus-themed villain named Cirque. I have a huge crush on her. I wish she showed up more than this one appearance. Anyway, she stole Krei's teleportation device. Megan confronts Hiro that she knows about Big Hero 6's secret identities, and she was about to snitch to her father until she joins them on this mission. The episode ends with Hiro looking at the footage from inside the portal, and he smiles seeing Baymax's floating dead body from the first movie. This really creeps me out. I don't know what they were going for with that. Get this, in episode 21, we learn the bitter cop's traumatic backstory. He hates heroes because one day when him and his father were confronted by a villain, Boss Awesome got there too late and his dad was killed. Incredibles 2 called. They want their storyline back. I love when Disney self-plagiarizes, but also, I'm a little bit emo because season 1 was so strong. Also, how did Bessie the Meteor have children? Hiro and Megan break into a top-secret police area to investigate the new robots made by Krei Tech. And it turns out these cop robots have Obake's computer chip. He tries to warn the police with his remote robot hero, and it's a good thing he actually wasn't physically there because the dude doesn't hear him out and instead tries to arrest him. Hiro very easily accesses Krei's computer files. Krei's password is password, and he can't even remember that. No wonder the villains always go through him. Hiro finds out the location the robots are being made at, and when he gets there, he finds Trina. The new look really suits her. She looks just like her papa. R.I.P. I really miss you, Obake. Trina is also mourning him, and she wants to get revenge to carry out his legacy. Trina is starting a robot uprising and wonders why Baymax doesn't join them. The police team up with the heroes after Megan was captured by robots. Also, Big Hero 6 reveals their identity to this guy, and not Aunt Cass? They take down the police bots by taking out Obake's chip and putting in Tadashi's. Not only was Trina's revenge super rushed, but the only corrupted robot I really wanted to see get redeemed is Noodle Burger Boy, and he's nowhere to be found. The only thing satisfying about the season 2 conclusion is Hiro giving a speech about Tadashi at the graduation. Wait, they graduated?
Okay. That shit was ass.
Noodle Burger Boy is starting his own robot rebellion. Can you believe he's the main villain now? We didn't see Trina get taken to jail, but we can assume that's what happened. Honey Lemon, Wasabi, and Go-Go are looking for jobs. So Fred and Hiro are worried that their team is going to drift apart. Which is exactly what happens in this season, because previously, all of the members were in every episode, but now they're inexplicably missing. Also, episode runtimes are now half of what they were before. In the second half of episode 3, Baymax, who is on dangerously low battery, begs Noodle Burger Boy to help him save his family. And Noodle Burger Boy did. Even with the evil chip, he used jumper cables to give most of his energy to Baymax and Minimax. Here's what I'm confused by. When Noodle Burger Boy was drained, couldn't they have removed the evil chip? I feel like there were so many opportunities where they could have saved him, but they didn't for no reason. Secondly, why is Baymax calling this his family? He's supposed to be a robot. And third, if this show was always episodic and careless with details, I would have just went with it. I've covered episodic shows before. It's just they randomly 180'd, which is very difficult for me to adjust to. It feels like a completely different series. They even joke about how they disregarded plot lines. Karmi returns in episode 4B and Hiro is really nervous to see her, and Aunt Cass asks, "What about Megan?" And Baymax asks again at the end of the episode, "What about Megan?" No answer, she's gone, I guess. Episode 6B further laughs in our face about the continuity, as Hiro looks through all these iconic villains, and when he gets to the Mad Jacks, the computer explains,
"They are the new hosts of the popular children's program. Bright lights, loud noises.
Everything's weird now."
Everything is weird now! I hate that the characters are breaking the fourth wall just to say, hey, we don't like this either. On the bright side, the boy band 4-2 Sing was pretty funny. We learned that Fred's butler, Heathcliff, is actually also a secret hero, which makes a lot of sense considering how desensitized he is to all of the action and danger. Also, I was correct. Globby and Felony Carl are in love. They've gotten a lot more wacky with the visuals too. In the very last episode, the villain arc of Noodle Burger Boy and the other mascots he recruited come to an end. They sent in Minimax to double-cross the villain robots, but turns out the villain robots knew and recruited Mamakase to join their team, but Mamakase was actually working with Hiro, so she was fully redeemed. The Obake chips were taken out, and all the robots are super sweet and work for Aunt Cass now, who they see as a mom. This is obviously not canon in the Baymax show, because they're nowhere to be seen. One critique I have of the entire series, including season 1, which you know I love, is that they kind of mess with the robot rules established in the movie. There are multiple instances where Baymax just seemed too human. It felt forced, and it actually made him less likable. People can argue maybe there's a social section of his hard drive where he learns how to act a bit more human. I mean, there was a whole episode where he was trying to learn about sarcasm, another episode where he was trying to learn about why humans lie. But what made Baymax so special in the movie is his loyalty to his mission. It's of course not abandoned in this series, but I'm excited to explore the miniseries Baymax because the healthcare angle I wanted to see more of is this show's whole premise.
Borax? I am Baymax.
The second episode follows this feisty little old lady named Kiko. It touches on personal loss once again, but more specifically, a widow who feels like her life is over. I didn't know the happiness of a character I only knew for 6 minutes would impact me so much. The quality of these short stories remind me of the theatrical shorts Disney would put before movies. Bite-sized, but such a satisfying pop of flavor and emotion. You might not know this about me because I cover such wacky media and I love it, but I also love slice of life. Then we meet Sophia. She's a 12-year-old girl going through puberty. Between this and Turning Red, I'm so glad the biggest entertainment company in the world is starting to normalize not being shamed for menstruating. It's kind of crazy that we live in a world where this has been taboo for so long, but the scene of Baymax in the supermarket asking which product is best, and a bunch of women, a father of a daughter, and a trans man all casually help is just so touching. Also, Disney including a trans character is a big W. It's about time, but also, I love to see it. The next episode, focusing on Mbita, also touches on developing an allergy later in life and gaining the courage to ask your crush out. And I love that when it came to Mbita's health, Baymax was persistent. The dramatic music and his face being lit up by the taillights in the rearview mirror, framing this as a horror scene, was hilarious. And also relatable for people who are afraid of shots. I will say though, Baymax holding up this shot in the distance, I really thought for a second Baymax was just like... It really looked like a middle finger to me for some reason. Your norepinephrine levels are high, and if you continue to use your voice at the fullest volume, it can strain. You are also incredibly red in the face. I suggest therapy. Therapy on dates, you puffy bitch! I don't want to spoil the last 2 episodes, but surprise, surprise, I'm emotional. This series is really sweet and ties up nicely. All I'll say is that Baymax also takes care of non-humans, and everyone he's met on this journey joins forces to help him in the end. Baymax was also in Kingdom Hearts! I really hope you enjoyed this video, butt lovers. I'm going to have to move my Junie B. Jones Lula Loopsy collab because I don't want to be late for all my Halloweeny uploads. Be sure to subscribe if you liked this video, comment your favorite parts, and have a wonderful day. Stay safe out there. Bye!